welcome to the Good Fight Sports Podcast, your home for local sports here in the 574. Hello, and welcome to the Good Fight Sports Podcast. My name is Kenny Cramer. There's no Brady today. It's unfortunate, but you know how it is around here. The show must go on. So this is week number 7. Yes, week number 7 week number 6 of high school football. This is our recap show. Again, had some things come up that I couldn't come down and record, which is unfortunate. Don't worry, I will get back on that. I apologize. Anyway, so recap of week 6 for high school football and college football. Starting with local high school breaking news for football anyway. As we've noted on this podcast, both Brady and I, mostly, we are all over South Bend Clay for their 34-game losing streak. And Clay put their 34-game losing streak on the line on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock at Clay against North Newton. North Newton came in with a 16-game losing streak. So it was a battle of losers, really. And Clay did something that I really didn't see possible for Clay. Clay not only won the game, they won 54-0 against North Newton. Just absolutely blew them out of the water. So congratulations to South Bend Clay for winning their first game in 34 games. This is also their 7th win since 2012. They're now 7-98. So if you're a South Bend Clay fan and you happen to listen, congratulations. Enjoy it. Unfortunately, you're not getting another win, most likely all season. I don't even know what your next game is. I really don't care. Because, again, you're going to lose. But, however, now North Newton extends their losing streak to 17. And now Attica has the longest losing streak in the state at 25 after they lost to Riverton Park 53-0. So South Bend Clay, nice job on ending your second 30-plus game losing streak. And be happy you're not going to have to set another one because you're done. So now let's move on to some actual scores and all that jazz for high school football. First, with the spotlight game of the week for the Good Fight Sports Podcast, it was number 6 in 2A LaVille, 5-1 at John Glenn, 4-2. This is a backyard brawl kind of a feel. I mean, it's a fierce rivalry. These two teams do not like each other. It's kind of like LaVille Bremen, only there's less hatred towards Glenn. But yeah, these two teams just do not like each other at all. And this was the 58th time these two teams were meeting on the gridiron. And the Lancers do hold a lead in the rivalry. They came in with a record of 33-23-1 against the Falcons. And the Lancers in the first half looked abysmal. It looked like LaVille had Knox missed tackling hangover. The Lancers couldn't tackle a tackling dummy if it was right in front of them. That's how many tackles they were missing. It was just incredible how many tackles were missing, and just depressing how many tackles they were missing. I mean, they were sure tackles, and the John Glenn players were just running right through. I mean, the game started off with a kick return by the Falcons right off the bat. I mean, that was opening kick, takes it all the way back to the house. It was like 90-plus yards. It was ridiculous. And nobody was within 10 yards of the guy. It was just bad. However, Glenn missed the extra point, so they were only up 6-0. And then the Lancers were forced to punt on their first series. But then the Lancers did get the ball back, and then they went down and scored to take a 7-6 lead, and that was their only lead in the first half. Then Glenn answered, scoring a touchdown on their next possession. But they went for two, they failed, so it was 12-7. I know, weird score. Then the next drive, LaVille got a field goal to cut the lead to 12-10. And then that was all LaVille scored in the first half. And then Glenn proceeded to score the next 15 unanswered points to take a 27-10 halftime lead. And it didn't feel like a 17-point lead for the Falcons. It felt like like John Glenn was up by at least 20. And honestly, at that point, I really didn't see any sort of way LaVille was going to win. It was going to be a miracle if they did. But I just thought that Glenn was just going to come out, kind of punch LaVille right in the mouth a little bit, and then just kind of not sit back and coast, but play a little bit more safe, I guess. But in the second half, LaVille got the ball, and they drove right down the field, scored, had a couple 4th and 2, 4th and 1 conversions, and just kept the ball moving. They ran the ball a lot in the second half. I will give them that. They ran the ball, which was their bread and butter. It's been their bread and butter all year, but Cody Allen really did a good job running the ball for the Lancers. He finished with 134 yards. Just the workhorse for LaVille running the ball. And they went down, scored, cutting it to 27-17. And then the preceding kick was just absolutely crazy. So LaVille kicks the ball. Falcon player gets to about the Glenn 45-yard line. I don't know who made the tackle, but whoever made the tackle for LaVille forced the fumble. Lucas Plummer picks up the ball, and he's going. It looks like he's about ready to score a touchdown, but Glenn player tackles him. Plummer fumbles the ball. Glenn recovers on their own 5-yard line. And then Glenn goes 3 and out because LaVille forced a turnover. Xavier Lefebvre picked the ball off to get the ball, I believe, at the Glenn 14. So, I mean, LaVille had prime field position. First play, Plummer, quick pass for a touchdown. It was a perfect pass right over the shoulder, right where the receiver could get it. I mean, honestly, the receiver was wide open. So if the receiver did miss it, it was going to be on the receiver and not Plummer because Plummer put it right where he needed to. And then LaVille cut the lead to 3 at 27-24. And it was... Honestly, it was the second half when LaVille came out and scored a touchdown that you can kind of see the momentum start to shift. something happened. I don't know what it was, but something happened. You can kind of see the LaVille bench start to get a little bit more hyped. You know, the LaVille crowd was a little bit more into it. And just the feeling, the momentum swing. I mean, you could feel it. I mean, you didn't have to be a fan of either Glenn or LaVille. You could feel the momentum start to shift when the Lancers scored coming right out of the break. And then momentum shift when Plummer picked up the ball. Fumble. The momentum didn't shift when Plummer fumbled the ball at the 5. It just kind of stalled a little bit. But right when Xavier Lefebvre picked the ball off, momentum shifted. And then momentum really did shift when LaVille scored the touchdown to cut the lead to 3. And the LaVille defense, credit to them. I mean, they put up a heck of a job in the second half. Tackling, their tackling was better. There was times where they allowed Glenn to move the ball, get it past the 50. But over those times, Glenn went 4 plays, and they were done. They went for it every time that they went down the field in the second half, in the fourth quarter, in the second half, past the 50, and both times they failed. So credit to the LaVille defense. They shut down, for the most part, Glenn offensively in the second half. And for the LaVille offense, they stepped up. They just ran the ball. They were consistent in that. And then because of that, you had the play-action pass open up, and Plummer did throw a touchdown to take the lead at 31-24, which was then the final score of the game, and the Lancers win the rivalry game, and they make it now 7 straight years. 7 straight years LaVille has beaten John Glenn in football, and they've won 8 of the last 9 meetings now. So the whole feel of this rivalry has really shifted back in LaVille's favor since LaVille has become known for football, and it's just impressive. Other games before we get to some other scores. South Bend St. Joe played at Penn, number 10, 6A Penn. And, Penn just kind of absolutely handled St. Joe. Penn won 28-0. Really nothing to report on that one. It's just Penn won again. Woohoo. Less than inferior competition. So, yeah. Although Penn is going to have a big test upcoming in their next game. They play New Prairie. I've seen a lot where they call Penn New Prairie crosstown rivals. No, they're not. They're not crosstown rivals. They're not rivals at all. Nice try to kind of build up the game, but let's just be honest. Penn New Prairie is not a rivalry. Can it be a rivalry? Yes. Is it? No. Now the game of all games in the area was number 6 5A Mishawaka at Northwood. This game, I thought Mishawaka was going to win. However, most people probably think, probably Mishawaka fans think they probably should have. But Northwood pulled off the upset to knock off number 6 Mishawaka in an incredible game. The Panthers won 43-42 in overtime, and just watching the highlights, it was just wow. A game that I wish I would have went to, but you got to go to LaVille. But I mean, just the back and forth feeling. Probably there's no lead was comfortable until Northwood stopped Mishawaka from scoring a touchdown. Um, I think it was a 2-point conversion they had to do, and they missed. So I think Mishawaka had a shot to win. They went for 2 and they failed. I think that's how it was. But just incredible game. No lead was safe until the very, very end. So credit to Northwood getting the upset, and Mishawaka drops now to 5-2. And the series is now tied at 2-2. This was only the fourth meeting between the two schools. Then some other scores from around the area. Bremen beat Prairie Heights 34-0. This was the sixth meeting between the two schools, and Bremen has won all of them. Caston ends their 20-game losing streak, beating Culver 49-14. However, the Cavaliers of Culver lead the series 8-3. Number 4, 6A Crown Point beat LaPorte 42-0. This was the 35th meeting between these two schools and rivals. Crown Point leads the series 19-16. Culver Academy beat Woodland 42-0. This was the 12th meeting between these two schools, and Woodland leads the series 8-4. East Noble throttled number 14 in 4A Columbia City 35-0. This was the 60th meeting between these two schools, and the series is now tied 30 apiece. Elkhart handled South Bend Adams 34-0. This was the fourth meeting between these two schools since the Elkhart merge, and the Lions lead the series 4-0. Garrett beat Fairfield 22-19. This was the 20th meeting between these two schools, and Garrett now leads the series 12-8. Goshen beat Plymouth, what a shock, 24-21. This was the 53rd meeting between these two schools and rivals, and Goshen leads the series 30-23. Number 4 and 3A Hanover Central beat number 15 and 4A Hobart 31-26. Jimtown beat South Bend Washington 35-0. Number 15 and 3A Knox handled number 10 and 1A Pioneer 50-8. This was only the 9th meeting between these two schools, and Pioneer still leads the series 7-2. Lake Central beat Chesterton 20-14. Marion beat Angola 39-14. Number 10 and 4A New Prairie beat number 13 and 4A South Bend Riley 35-12. This was the 11th meeting between these two schools, and New Prairie has won all 10 since joining the NIC in 2015. Manchester beat Whitco 21-0. This was the 51st meeting between these two schools, and Whitco leads the series 33-18. Michigan City beat Portage 21-8. 30th meeting between these two schools. Portage leads the series 20-10. Number 9 and 1A North White beat South Newton 58-22. This was the 57th meeting between these two schools, and North White leads the series 31-26. In the TV 46 game of the week, number 8 and 4A Northridge beat number 10 and 5A Concord 21-14. This was the 46th meeting between these two schools. Concord leads the series 34-10. Going back in the history, Concord won 15 straight at one point from 1994 to 2008. And from 1976 to 82, Concord outscored the Raiders 422 to 21. Not kidding. Number 13 in 2A, Rochester handled Northfield 62 to nothing. Rochester owns that series 36 to 9. And the Zebras also won 20 consecutive games from 1995 to 2014. South Central beat Lake Station 61 to 8. This was the 22nd meeting between these two schools. South Central leads that series 15 to 7. Number 12, 3A Tippecanoe Valley upset number 3 in 3A West Lafayette 35 to 13. That game was on the road down in West Lafayette, which is a tough place to play. So congratulations to Tippecanoe Valley. They are a threat now in 3A, at least in the north. Number 15 in 1A Triton handled number 12 in 1A North Judson 40 to 7. This was the 12th meeting between these two schools, and North Judson leads the series 8 to 4. Number 5 in 5A Valparaiso beat number 4 in 5A Maryville 26 to 24. This was the 63rd meeting between these two rivals, and Maryville leads the series 34 to 29. Wabash beat North Miami 20 to 18. 18th meeting between these two schools, and North Miami leads 11 to 7. In the battle for the W Trophy, Warsaw barely beat Wawasee 22 to 15. This was the 55th meeting between these two rivals, and Warsaw leads the series 37, 17, and 1. West Noble squeaked out a win against Lakeland 35 to 34 in overtime. This was the 60th meeting between these two schools, and Lakeland leads the series 36 to 24. And the final local game, Winnemac beat number 11 in 1A West Central 22 to 14. This was the 49th meeting between these two schools, and Winnemac leads the series 37 to 12. Now for some games around the state. Number 1 in 3A Indianapolis Bishop Chatard handled Andrean 41 to nothing. This is only the 4th meeting between these two schools, and Chatard has won all 4. Heritage beat number 3 in 2A Bluffton 27-21. This was the 41st meeting between these two schools, and Heritage leads the series 31 to 10. Number 2 in 6A Ben Davis handled number 9 in 6A Carmel 45 to 16. This was the 50th meeting between these two rivals, and the series is tied at 25. Number 2 in 4A Evansville Rights handled number 3 in 4A Evansville Memorial 34 to nothing. This was the 101st meeting between these two rivals down in Evansville. The series started in 1925, and Rights leads the series 56, 39, and 5. In the Battle of the Bishops over in Fort Wayne, number 8 in 2A Fort Wayne Bishop Lures squeaked out Fort Wayne Bishop Dwenger 29 to 28. 61st meeting between these two rivals, and Dwenger leads this series 35 to 26. Number 6 in 6A Indianapolis Cathedral beats Cincinnati LaSalle of Ohio 39-26. Number 1 in 1A Indianapolis Lutheran beat Monrovia 49 to 14. This is Lutheran's 37th straight win. Number 2 in 2A Triton Central beat number 7 in 2A Indianapolis Cecina 38 to 14. This was the 16th meeting between these two schools, and Cecina leads the series 11-6. So now I'm gonna do the my local high school football top 15, and this is up to week 7, which would be this week. So at number 1, I have Penn. Just the fact that Penn is Penn. Number 2, I have Crown Point. After last week, I was like, I need to have Crown Point in the rankings, and I wasn't going to change it. So I just decided, it was like, you know what? If Crown Point wins, we're going to put them in, and we're going to put them in at number 2. If they lose, I'll figure it out. However, they won, so Crown Point is number 2. At number 3, I have New Prairie. They're 6-1 after a good win against South Bend Riley. Warsaw, I have at number 4. Northridge, I have at number 5. Valpo moves up. They're at 6. Knox, I have at 7. LaVille, I have back up at 8. They were 10th last week. Northwood moves up. I have them at 9. Mishawaka falls to number 10. Let's see. And then number 11, I have Tippecanoe Valley. They were 14th last week. South Bend Riley falls they fall to number 12 after being number 6 last week. Number 13, I have Triton. Number 14, I have North White. And then at number 15, I have Concord. So, coaches poll for Indiana high school basketball. I just can't speak today, man. It's so weird. The coaches poll is not out yet. However, I can tell you who is won in the top 10 for each class in the rankings. So, in Class 6A, overall, the top 10 was 9-1, with the only loss being Carmel. Let's see. In 5A, the top 10 was 6-3. Losses being Maryville, Mishawaka, and Concord. In 4A, the top 10 was 7-2. Losses being Evansville Memorial and Brebeuf Jesuit. 3A, top 10 was 7-2. Losses being West Lafayette and Vincennes Lincoln. I fully expect Tippecanoe Valley to jump way up in 3A. If they don't, then there's something wrong. In 2A, top 10 was 6-3. Losses being Bluffton, Heritage Christian, and Indianapolis Cecina. Expect LaVille to move up again. And then in 1A, top 10 was 10-1, with the loss being Pioneer. With that, let's do conference standings where everyone sits at the moment. First with the Hoosier North. Knox is number 1 in the Hoosier North at the moment, unfortunately. They are 5-0 in the conference, 7-0 overall, and they've won 7 consecutive games. LaVille sitting tied for number 2. They're 4-1, 6-1 overall. They've won 1 game. Triton is 4-1 overall, 4-1 in the conference, 5-2 overall, and they've won 3 in a row now. North Judson is 3-2, 4-2 overall. They've lost 1. Pioneer 2-3, 4-2 overall, and they've lost 2. Winnemac 1-4, 2-5 overall, and they've won 2. Caston 1-4, 1-6 overall, and they've won 1. And then Culver rounds out the HNAC 0-5, 0-7 overall, and they've lost 8. Now for the NIC, New Prairies and Penn are tied. for first place. Both teams are 3-0, 6-1 overall. New Prairie has won 6, and Penn has won 4. Elkhart sitting right behind in second place at 2-1, 3-4 overall, and they've won 2. Mishawaka Marion is 1-2, 3-4 overall. They've won 1. South Bend St. Joe is 1-3, 3-4 overall, and they've lost 1. And South Bend Adams is 0-4, 1-6 overall, and they've lost 4. In the NIC South Division, basically small team conference, small team division. South Bend Riley still sitting at number 1 at 3-0, 6-1 overall, and they've lost 1. John Glenn and Jimtown both tied for second place at 2-1 in the conference. Glenn is 4-3 and they've lost 1, and Jimtown is 3-4 and they've won 1. Bremen at 1-2, 3-4 overall, and they've won 1. South Bend Washington 1-3, 2-5 overall, and they've lost 2. And South Bend Clay 0-3, 1-6 overall, and they've won 1. And then finally in the Northern Lakes, Northridge, Warsaw, and Mishawaka all tied for first place at 4-1 in the conference. Northridge and Warsaw are both 6-1. Northridge has won 4. Warsaw has won 1. And then Mishawaka comes in at 5-2. And they've lost 1. Northwood 2-2, 5-2 overall, and they've won 2. Concord 2-2 overall, 2-2 in the conference, 4-3 overall, and they've lost 1. Plymouth, Goshen, and Wawasee are all tied for last at 1-4. Plymouth comes in at 2-5, and they've lost 3. And Goshen is 1-4, 1-6 overall, and they've won 1. And Wawasee is 1-6, and they've lost 4. So, switching gears to college football. First, some college football news before we get into Notre Dame versus Duke. So, there's been reports out that Clemson has found a way to get out of paying the grant of rights fee for leaving the conference. That fee is $120 million, and Clemson would have to pay that in order to start the process of leaving the ACC. Clemson, I guess, has found a way to get out of that, which could confirm them leaving the ACC at some point. I would expect some sort of announcement here soon. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Florida State also goes to the SEC. And then if you're the ACC, do you try and get some other teams to join? Do you try and go after Oregon State and Washington State? The only two, basically the Pac-2 over there, do you go after them to try and replace them? Do you give a sweet deal to Notre Dame? Do you try and do that? But at this point, I think Notre Dame is happy right where they are because they have everything you would want. I mean, they have their own TV deal. If they had their own TV network, that'd be even better too. But that's neither here or there. So Notre Dame, Duke. Notre Dame found a way to bounce back Saturday, beating number 17 Duke on the road, 21-14. The Irish were thin at wide receiver. They had both Jaden Thomas and Jaden Greathouse out. I don't know if the reasons were made public, and if they were, I did not find them. Notre Dame was up 13-0 in the second half at one point, but then Duke stormed back, took the lead at 14-13. Then after a pooch kick by Duke quarterback Riley Leonard, Notre Dame went down the field and scored and with under a minute left with an Audric Estime 30-yard touchdown, take the lead back. Did go for 2 to make it a 7-point game. Obviously, we're successful on that, on a pass to Rico Flores. And then the Irish improved now to 5-1. This is their first ranked win of the season. And they have another chance to do it again next week, this upcoming week, as they travel down to Louisville. Louisville's 5-0, and the Irish are favored by 6.5 right now. That is the spread for the game. So going over some stats. First, we'll start with the Irish. Notre Dame finished with 380 total yards, 222 passing yards, 158 rushing yards, 16 first downs, 22 tackles, 0 turnovers, and had the ball for 28 minutes and 15 seconds. For Duke, they finished with 323 yards, 134 passing yards, 189 rushing yards, 17 first downs, 16 tackles, 2 turnovers, and had the ball for 31 minutes and 45 seconds. Some other college football scores, mostly ranked teams here. Oregon State beat Utah 21-7. USC beat Colorado 48-41. Number 1 Georgia got the win at Auburn in that rivalry game 27-20. Texas handled Kansas 40-14. Ole Miss beat LSU 55-49. Kentucky handled Florida. I mean, the score wasn't as close as what it finished up as, but Kentucky won the game 33-14. And then Washington squeaked out a win against Arizona 31-24. So now for my top 25 for college football. I have Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Ohio State, Texas, USC, Penn State, and Oregon all in order from 1 to 8. Same as last week, no changes there. I have Notre Dame at 9. I kept Washington at 10, only because I like Notre Dame's win over Duke on the road more than I like than Washington beating Arizona and only winning by 7 points. So there's that. I have Alabama at 11, Oklahoma at 12, North Carolina at 13. I dropped Utah to 14. They were 9th. And then, let's see, Alabama was 12 last week for me. Oklahoma was 14, and then North Carolina was 15. I have Oregon State at 15. At 16, I have Washington State. Those two I flip-flopped. I have Ole Miss at 17. They were 18th last week for me. 18, I have Kentucky. They were not ranked last week, but with a win against Florida, how they did that, that's just impressive. So they jump all the way up to 18. I have Miami at 20, at 19 actually, at 19. They were 23rd for me last week. Tennessee I have at 20. They were 22nd last week. 21 I have Fresno State. They were not ranked for me. At 22 I have Duke. They were 18th. At 23 I have LSU. They were 13th. At 24 I have Maryland. They're 5-0. They were not ranked. And at 25 I have Louisville. So if you want to compare, this is the AP poll for this week. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, Florida, Penn State, and Washington are your top 7. Oregon jumps USC. Oregon's now 8th. USC is 9th. Notre Dame cracks the top 10, which I'm not surprised. They're 10th. Alabama's 11th. Oklahoma's 12th. Washington State is number 13. North Carolina's 14. Oregon State is 15. Ole Miss is 16. Miami is 17. Utah is 18. Duke is 19. Kentucky comes in at number 20. Missouri is 21. Tennessee is 22. LSU is 23. Fresno State is 24. And Louisville is 25. That's your AP top 25, the poll that actually matters, until the college football rankings. And with that, that's all I have. So until this upcoming week, when we give out the Week 7 games for the week, so long, everybody.
Hey guys, it's Kenny, host of The Good Fight. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to hear more, you can check out our website at thelugnutspodcastgroup.com for all information related to the podcast and where to listen to us. You can also follow the Patreon page for exclusive benefits for the show. Join us next time for The Good Fight.